Hi, folks. My name is Richie Sarchnikorn. I use he, him pronouns.
Hi, I'm Kenzie. I use she, her pronouns.
We are both super delighted and excited to welcome you to sort of the wrap-up stage of what we call the multiplayership mentorship program. Um, and this is sort of the latest initiative by the Canadian Game Studies Association, or CGSA for short, which most of you know. We'd like to also thank the Federation for the Humanities and Social Sciences for sort of supporting this first year of this initiative. MMP for short, Multiplayer Mentorship Program, tackles one big question that we all face. In academia, mentorship is sort of an unquestioned part of the game, right? Yet the role for who gets to be a mentor usually goes to professors, late stage PhD students, and even postdocs. But is there a playbook to be a mentor, so to speak? As game scholars, we know that putting all your stats into intelligence or publications is not a wise move, yes? What about quote unquote players who are skilled in other forms of mentorship, game development, music composition, book writing, or even painting? These skills can surprise all of us in how useful and quote unquote productive they are. So last fall, the CGSA team kickstarted the multiplayer mentorship program. And for 10 weeks, two folks, each in like four groups, have met and sort of thought, created, shared, and taught each other their skills. And this is what we call mutual mentorship. And so today we're going to be sort of opening with our first of four two-player talks.
So before we kind of get things started here, we want to, of course, acknowledge that all of us joining from locations across Turtle Island are working and living on the traditional territories of diverse Indigenous communities, and we have ongoing responsibilities to treaty and reconciliation. So in particular, the digital infrastructure for these talks is being provided by the University of Alberta in Nimiskwichi Waskahigan on Treaty 6, which is the traditional territory of the Nahiwa, Niitsitapi, Métis, Nakota, Dene, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe peoples, and also by Zoom, which is headquartered in San Jose, which is the traditional territory of the Muwekma Ohlone.
And on this side, where I'm based at Concordia University, which is also where CGSA is going to be happening this year, we are located on unceded Indigenous lands, and we recognize that the Ganyangehaga Nation are the custodians of the lands and waters which we are gathered on here. Historically, Chichake, or what we call Montreal, is also known as a gathering space for many First Nations, and today it is home to a diverse population of Indigenous and other peoples. We are all committed to respect and learn about our ongoing relationship with Indigenous and other peoples in the Montreal and wider community.
And of course, we want to acknowledge that many of our academic institutions have been and continue to be instruments of colonial violence and dispossession, and we affirm our responsibility to hold these institutions accountable and work towards true reconciliation.
So then, before we begin, just a few house rules. During Agata and Charlotte's talk, if you have a question, for example, put them in the Q&A option. So where the chat would have been, just press the word Q&A and type in your questions. And Kenzie and I will read them out towards the end. If you're also able to chat to us as moderators, also send us your questions there. And finally, you can also put your hand up at the end and we can try to unmute you if you wish. Just to let you know, this meeting is being recorded because afterwards we're going to be putting this on YouTube as well to share our knowledge more. So if you wanted to speak your question, know that in mind.
Okay, so with all of that housekeeping stuff out of the way, let's please begin the first of our four two-player talks. So please welcome Agata and Charlotte, who are going to share a little bit about their mutual mentorship together and what they've created. So we'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will share the screen and hopefully it will go well. Please let me know if you can see it. Does it work?
It's still loading and that's good.
Okay. Yes? Yeah, all right, fantastic. Because again, now I need to look around. Yeah, we have a little presentation to just, explain who we are and introduce ourselves and talk about what we came into the project with and what we left it with. So what did we do? And yeah, and I think that's that's our presentation. So I guess starting with us, I'm Agata. My pronouns are they, them. I am in Poland. I'm working at Catholic University of Lublin. I am an assistant professor there of literary studies, but game studies really, but you know how it is. And I draw a bit. So these are my links for stuff in case this is something that is interesting and you wanted to check it out. But basically I came here to learn how to make games and to share a bit of my knowledge of game studies, especially in European context. Because now I'm 4 years after my defense, but I'm very, very active in organizing conferences, networking, and stuff like that. So this is what I offered. And Charlotte?
Yes, hi everyone. So I'm Charlotte Courtois. I'm a PhD candidate at Université de Montréal in Canada, but I live in France. I saw that Carl, my PhD advisor, is in the audience. So hi, Carl. Very happy that I sent you the first version of my PhD last week. Thanks for the notes. And I'm doing a PhD on the history of pornographic video games, but it's also a research creation PhD, as I've been a game creator since now 2018, so 8 years. Yes, 8 years. And I've been making small games. I've counted recently. I think now I'm at 20. Um, 24 small games and one big game that I released a couple of months ago that's called Ship and Love. That's here. And these are I medal the research aspect and the creation aspect, which both of them overlap in my life as well as in my research. And as maybe we'll talk a bit afterwards, my activist activities is also like 1/3 pillar of my life that is visible in my games as well as in my research. All of this communicates into creating the things that I do. And so as for this co-mentorship, I knew how to make games, but I had big issues with how to highlight my research and talk about it in a more compelling way, or at least to put forward the projects that I have done. And Agata is wonderful at doing this, so we had very, very rich exchanges.
That is what happened. Thank you very much. Yeah, so we basically very beautifully matched here with the exactly good skills for what we wanted to look for. We decided, basically for me, I've never made a game of any sort before. I worked a little as a graphic designer on one, but it never, I didn't stick with this particular company long enough to say that I've made a game. And that is what, Charlotte was so kind to talk to me about, Bitsy and wine and all of the options, and walk me through what apparently was a big fear of making new game in Bitsy for some reason. So that was a very, very supportive collaboration. And on the other hand, in the other direction, I have 2 books on food in video games and in meta games, and 2 more that I've just contracted on, and they're I think even like while we were already working, I think the contracts happen. So that was what I brought to the table to help with polishing the proposal. Charlotte also has a book that is gonna be
because I need to have several tabs open in my brain. So last year, apparently, it was easier to write a book project than to write my PhD. And so that's what I did. But then this book project has been on hold for about a year, as I really struggled with approaching publishers and doing things with it. Just like writing the thing was much easier than doing this in my brain, at least. And so, yeah, Agata's experience with not only pitching games, but books, but also like being signed to more books during the commentership was wonderful, just in terms of having the more of a, not only the publisher talk, but just also I think that comes with a lot of executive dysfunction on my side, as much as you may have had issues with just starting making games, because once we started, it went amazingly well and amazingly fast. Our small game went really good. Um, I guess I was terrified of the form of
And
publishers.
arguably, forms for pitching books are more convoluted than Bitsy, as it turned out. So that's actually your task was much harder. But it was also very interesting for me to go through this with you for learning like which part, because I do have a superpower of being able to navigate the lingo of forms and grants and stuff like that. And it was very interesting to see also which parts were not clear. And then I realized that, yes, this is true. They are really not clear. So that was actually very interesting to see as well. And to be able to maybe help some other people later with that particular thing. So this is what we came with, and then I now officially made a game, and discovered also that I did have an itch.io account, which I thought I didn't. So so now I'm very professional here, and we worked on the book proposal. I think we have a little more that we were supposed to do stuff with, but as I said before we started, I'm now entering the worst part of this term, so this is also that. But we're almost basically done with that, with the big chunk of the proposal, I think, right? So that's and it looks super cool, and I'm very excited about that. So
Absolutely. We have little projects that we want to do to keep on doing for afterwards. So I think I'm very, very happy with everything that we have done and everything that we have put into place. I think is really wonderful.
Yeah, I think there's a little spoiler for like the concluding remarks that we're absolutely we hit it off very well also as people, I think. And then this is not just that, hey, we finished 10 weeks and this is done and we don't have to speak to each other ever again, but we just, think about continuing that. And I'm happy to help with that, with the book project more outside of the mentorship program. And we've talked about next Bitsy games. So that's definitely something that we want to do. So I guess, for this answer of why we went into this is because we had the skills that were to be shared. From my side, I can also say, and I disclosed that already to Richard and Kenzie, that I've been thinking about a mentorship program of some sort in the Central and Eastern European Game Studies Conference 6, which I'm the chair of. It's a chapter of DIGRA right now. And it's something that has been in the back of my head, because I have the understanding of the game studies area. So I was thinking about doing something that maybe could help the many new students, PhD students that we're getting. But I was not sure how to do it, and it felt like it's a lot of work probably to do it well. So when it popped up on Games Network that you guys are doing that, I was very excited and then very surprised to be selected. So that was super cool. Charlotte, do you have anything else for why you or how you came here?
Yeah, just from a political stance, I feel that we're really at a stage in academia, and obviously I'm relatively new to academia since I'm still a PhD candidate, but where it feels very competitive and very isolating. Of course, we've just been through COVID and are doing so many things through Zoom, which there's the impression of working alone, and from our side, and that our main colleague is our computer, which very so I guess very relevant. And commentership, I think, is really a way of collaborating in another way. I think that one of the goals that Kenzie and Richie that you had with your communication is also not to put too much pressure on the productive aspect And I think that's like we're as researchers and as very active people that Agata and I are, we're going to try to be productive in one way or another, whatever happens, I think. But really, the emphasis that you put on just it's okay to not be productive if this is just an exchange of ideas and of things, and if what comes out of it at the end is just having made a connection in another place, and exchange some knowledge and some specific things about how it goes, and maybe made research just a little bit easier for both people. I think that this is already a success. And yes, my PhD journey has been very complex, just as many PhD journeys that last 7 years. It went with me through many stages of my life, and I'm still trying very hard to figure out how and if it is and if academia is a welcoming environment for me for my life. And I know that this is really tough, but these are things like this that really help envision a path for collaboration and something that is more humane and more yes, and more human in scale than what is usually asked of us in the research domain.
I agree with everything that you said. That's absolutely and very sweet. So when we started to talk about what we wanted to do from the game perspective, we very quickly realized that one more thing that we share is that we both knew of game poems as an idea, as a category, and we got very excited when we realized that we both are into that. The game poems are a concept, I guess, that is, we're using it after Jordan Magnusson, who has a wonderful book about that. And he then did now a first issue that you can see from a magazine, Game Poems magazine. The call for the second issue is still up, I believe, until soon, but it's still, I think, open. And it's a magazine for those very short games that can be interpreted as poems or poetic in some way. And Jordan's and mine interest in that, and he brought me in as one of the editors of the first issue, at least, hopefully on the second as well. Is that one of the books that I am now contracted and I'm waiting for, like, in the process of editing, is about poems as puzzles in video games. So all those interactive poems that you encounter, like haiku in Ghost of Tsushima, probably something like that. So we started to chat about game poems and game poetry and how to make something like that. And we had few ideas for maybe using an existing poems all made by sex workers, or maybe, but then also copyright issues started to be a thing that we started to worry about. But also we wanted to start, since it was my first game and I had a lot of anxiety about that, we decided to start with something very, very small. So it kind of maybe is a game poem, I hope, in a way, because it is very, it has all of the elements of that. It's personal and very sweet, hopefully. But we went into something more experience-based rather than text-based in that sense. But also very cool thing. So if this is something that interests you, I'm very happy to tell you about that, because it's a very, very fun thing that exists. So what we did was, instead a game about, game poem in a way, we made a game about ducks, but because we started to chat, and this comes from me, all the photos are taken by me. Near where I live is this little stream, and where ducks are, and every time, because this is the play, I take this road to go to the gym, every time they go there and I see a duck spot, I cannot stop myself and I have to take a picture, which I was just saying that I discovered by making the slide that I have a problem, and there's so many pictures on my phone. We made a game. I will go quickly here to just show you more or less how it looks like. the premise is it always makes me sad when I have to wait all winter to see a duck spot again. And you go for the little pond and you go to the sign and you see the picture that Charlotte made in pixels from my illustration of a duck. But I don't have a special feeling about ducks. I've always been more into whales. If I have to go with something, this is what I have tattooed on me. Apparently, I'm very into ducks, is what I've discovered during this 10 weeks. Yeah, and it was a very, very exciting process, and it was super cool. And Charlotte was really wonderful with explaining and showing me Bitsy, which I was interested in, and I've heard Jordan talk about it also. And I, of course, I knew of Bitsy, but I've never really seen it inside. And then it was really fun, and we met for a basically kind of game jam making session, which was very short and very, very cool to do. And I found it super relaxing as well. So that was a very nice experience.
So about the creation process, I've learned making games from a queer hackerspace that took place in Paris. That unfortunately the queer hackerspace doesn't exist anymore, but it took place in the oldest lesbian bar in Paris, which was really a magical place to have this. And they were giving these classes to share knowledge about IT stuff, whether like creating your own server at home, having a more secure email address, and sometimes there were things about games, because one of the members is Marion Coville, who's a wonderful researcher about games in France, feminist and queer researcher in France, and just other people who made games in this collective. And I attended 8 years ago a 2 hour class about how to make games in RenPy. And not only did I learn how to use RenPy as a tool, but I also learned just how much work you have to do in order to just detangle the constructions, that game making is so complex, and that game making is so technical, and that game making is so hard. And I have grown to really despise what this discourse has on people. Just how much built-in anticipation about the toughness of it all is. And Bitsy is a relatively new tool that is, I think, really made for being accessible, but there were other tools that were already accessible before that. And I think it's not randomly that Bitsy is very used by the queer community, by people with disabilities as well, who are able to take hold of these short-form game making processes, because people may have less energy or less time to make games, and this is what makes game making accessible. Therefore, I really like the concept of cultural democracy, and I think that sharing the knowledge for tool accessibility is really an action of cultural democracy, and really just over complexifying game making should be banned and should be punished by law in game studies, I think. But so I knew that with how I began making games 8 years ago, that like this knowledge is easy to transfer, but it does come with also deconstructing this social ideas of how complex it is to make games. But we went through that really fast, I think, and really we spent much more time brainstorming than making the game. In the end, with two ADHD brains, had a lot of ideas for making games. As soon as I heard about duckbots, I was absolutely fascinated with the concept, and I knew that's what I wanted to focus on, because this is incredible. And yes, and Agata sent me this beautiful collection of pictures throughout our co-mentorship, which absolutely radiated my day, and that I could show duckbots to everyone in places where I was. And and people were mesmerized with the collection of pictures as well. But yes, so as even though it may have seemed difficult to start, the process went really fast because that's the reality of especially BT Game Engine is really made to make games easily and to be accessible for everyone, although it is possible to make complex things with it too. So I'm really glad that this was the perfect tool to start with.
Yeah, and you are definitely really good with explaining as well. So it's not just the Bitsy's here advantage, but like the QR code, of course, leads to the game in case that you would like to check it by yourself. But it was also very, very sweet for moment for me that because again, like if you get a picture of Duck's butt, you cannot be sad. This is this is what I believe. And because we started to chat, and that was a very close collaboration for quite some time, I started to share the pictures, and then Charlotte got very excited about that. And then the picture is made from, I showed her the picture that I made to use as a sticker in WhatsApp in conversations with my mom, because I was sending her so many documents that I said that we need to have a sticker, and then Charlotte said this is a fantastic picture for that. So that was also very sweet and very, very validating. So and we of course talked about making games about, for example, ADHD as well, because this is another thing that we share, but also something that I do research-wise, so that would be really cool to do. Do you want to talk about the second part of our collaboration more and about your book? Yeah,
absolutely. So for a year, a part of my brain has known that it had to do something with the book project without being actually able to do it. And really, I saw the commentership as like really the thing that like, okay, if I do this, if I'm accepted in this, like for sure, like this will move forward, even if it's not taken to completion, like to the whole process, at least this will move forward. So like this is the best for me right now. And so for me, it's always really tough to read through, like the publisher asks one thing, but they really want something else in terms of answer. And with my very literal thinking, because that's how my brain is, it's really tough. Just I really struggle with this, not just with the publisher thing, but I also struggle a lot with grants and with just any form where I'm asked one question but really expected an answer of something else. And so I feel like just having something to decipher is really life-saving, because obviously there are many things with many obscure forms that have been denied or rejected. Also, I think in part because just I don't understand what's asked of me. And so the form is now, I would say, 80% complete, with a lot of drafts, but 80% complete with the working title, Playing Pornography, Gender, Queerness, and Race in Contemporary Video Game Pornography Platforms, and which makes me really, really, really glad. Just putting the things into place, and also just extracting this really solo work that I did for so long, and making it more and more public. I'm really glad. We wondered about what to share of this, and really I think like my solution was to just share the title, because I think that anything else is, I think, a bit bothersome. This is about the commentership, and I think that sharing the even a pitch or a chapter breakdown is not that interesting, and would take a long time. So just I'm really happy to share the working title and the progress made so far.
We decided on Bloomsbury as well because this is the publisher that I've been now very accidentally the two books are because one is my own and one is edited volume on Cozy Media with Betty Booty. And I really liked the process with them as for now, and the editor is wonderful and very quick to answer, which is not always the case. So I really enjoyed it so far. So also that is a good publisher, and we decided this is why not, since I've just went with this process and it's a nice one. But yeah, with what Charlotte said about the form asking for something and not really and wanting something else, and me not realizing maybe exactly what that is, it was specifically about they really do ask you for 3 descriptions of the book in 3 lengths. And that's when you look at it in terms of, one is supposed to be short and then longer and then the most detailed, but they literally, I think, call it like summary and detailed summary or something like that. So this can be very confusing if you haven't done that before or haven't looked at somebody else's proposal. So I was happy to help with that.
But you still write for it.
Yeah. And it's almost done. So this is very exciting. And
yeah.
And I think this is what we had from the presentation. If basically that. And I think that the just to summarize that, what I said also is that both of these projects is something that we will most likely continue, because the book proposal is being continued, and I'm very happy to help with that more. Because we've also been chatting a lot on Discord in between the actual meetings, and more games will be to come apparently. So stay tuned.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a call for proposal for an event in Paris, but there is hybrids, so would be feasible. And are you comfortable with sharing our ideas in this?
Yeah.
So the event in Paris is about handicap and about visual media and handicap. And with Agata, as you've seen in their presentation, has already worked on creating mediation support around ADHD, and I think that short form video games is also really great at sharing personal stories in a very efficient way and in a very simple way. So we want to work with BT again to offer something for this event, as they will have an exhibition. I think this will only be in person, though, the exhibition parts. But I think that BT games are very great for exhibition because they're so short. They can be played by several people in just a short span of time. So that makes a lot of sense. And yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Virtual round of applause for Agata and Charlotte for sharing the duck butts and the book proposal, and everything in between. So we have some time now for discussion and questions. So if you would like to raise your hand if you're in the audience, we can unmute you and you can speak your question aloud, or if you'd prefer to type it, feel free to pop it in the Q&A. And we will hand it over to our presenters to answer. While we wait perhaps for those to roll in, I'll start us off with a question for both of you about kind of the mentorship process and your experience. Is there like a particular moment during your mutual mentorship period that kind of stands out to you as like something clicking, or kind of realizing like, oh, I can do something I couldn't do before? Anything that kind of stands out as an experience, and can you tell us a little bit about it?
If I can start, I think for me, just from the first meeting, I understood very quickly that we were going to get on very well, that we had many things in common, from our interests to how we're trying to navigate through academia. Of course, Agata is much more advanced than I am, but that is also just so so inspiring to see how they navigated the years after their PhD. And yes, for me, just I was always so, I always left the meetings with more energy than I entered, which just is difficult to explain, except that just we knew that it clicked very early on, at least from me.
Yeah. The same. I think that we even started to chat on Discord before we had like the first that we've seen each other on screen the first time, and that was already like I was already that's gonna be go well, right? Like there was already just, and this is also important of the similarity of the way of connecting and writing and all of that. And then it turned out, yeah, that we do have a lot of in common and we understand each other very well. So that was really, really nice. And I think, yeah, my moment also was when, just making the game. That was very, like, I was what you said about feeling better. That was such a relaxing experience in a way. Like, it was very intense, but it was also very relaxing. And it was in a moment when I was incredibly low energy and very busy, and the weather was just doing horrible things to me because it was spring, and I don't do well when the pressure, changes. And then I felt so relaxed that I was like, yeah, I think this needs to happen more. And while I knew that, because I wanted to do something with a game for quite some time, and I knew that it's not going to happen by just me telling myself, hey, sit down and just, watch a YouTube tutorial or something. So that was a lot of fun, and I already wanted to do that again at some point. So, yeah.
Absolutely. If I may add to that, I think that from the beginning, we've also been very clear about how our brain works and what are our specific needs. And I think that having this conversation right from the start really helped into accommodating each other. You've had very, very busy weeks. I have also and unexpected tiredness and things like this. And with how open we were about how things were going, we were able to always adjust. And yeah, and we managed to work together into chats, maybe not every week in video, but always to keep on thinking together all the time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, both of you. Holy moly, my goodness. I have so many questions, but what I loved, and I think Charlotte, you said this, that it's sort of a mission that you both share. We call it knowledge democratization, but you say it's sort of cultural democracy, right? In terms of debunking ways that you can share knowledge meaningfully. Crucial to every democracy is paperwork. Thank you for the pity laugh. That was my segue. I do wonder, by the way, for sort of a practical tip that you can give to our audience right now watching, who may want to engage in a sort of mentorship like this, a mutual mentorship. Can you both give me an example for the book itself and for the sort of game making? How did you document your thoughts? What kind of platforms did you use? Did you return to it? Like, what was the documentation process like for these two projects to grow coherently?
Okay, I don't think you understand when we say that we have ADHD. So Discord is what we used to document. I mean, sorry, but yeah. No, we used Discord and we were chatting there, and a lot of conversation happened there, and that was also really helpful because part of that was, first of all, thinking while writing is for me very natural, but also we had working on a book, so that was easier to put things in words like that. The spreadsheet that you provided with the weekly like what did you do was helpful, although I think that we did not look at it once before having a meeting, so we did not read any of her like warm-up questions or icebreaker questions, not because they weren't great, it's just also we didn't need them because we started to chat and we were already chatting, so that was there. But I don't think the documentation happened outside of Discord.
Absolutely. I think that the main tools were just having 4 mental tabs open regarding working with Agata. And
Yeah.
yes.
Amazing. Who needs documentation? Is the takeaway. I'm curious for both of you because in various ways you've kind of signaled that like mentorship and collaboration is a really important part of how you think about your academic work. And Agata, you know, you've mentioned that you're thinking about starting up a program like this in your own association. Is there anything that you've learned about mentorship, about the process of mentorship through this participation that might be helpful for other people who are also interested in mentorship in academia?
I think that what really helped with that is actually that document that I just mentioned that you gave us, right? So the kind of you gave us a structure for this, and I don't know how well it would have worked without a structure as well. So knowing that this is, this week and this is, now it's halfway through and stuff like we didn't plan it maybe very like we've never talked about, hey, this is how many weeks we need to do something. We didn't plan like that. But I think it was like the 5th week that we finished the game. Like we literally finished the first, task halfway through, and then we had time to work on the proposal. So that was also a really cool thing that I wanted to share with you, just to let you know that it really worked with the 10 weeks. But I think that the having actually or starting that with a project that has some kind of deadline and has some kind of a structure was actually really helpful.
Yep, absolutely. In terms of this collaboration, I think it was really great. It's not that we didn't use the document that you provided. It's just that like we didn't use it maybe to its full capacity, but it was great to have it. And I think I probably read it through once and then run with the concepts. But yes. And also I think that like what I really liked from the starting point when I started seeing about the co-mentorship, the mutual mentorship, and maybe people in the audience will have thoughts on this. But it's also how hierarchical academia is, and just appreciating the skills that younger researchers, independently from their age, may have, and just lessening the not the stardom effect, but just also the power imbalances between people. I think sometimes it may just be very tough to ask for help or just to communicate, just to talk with someone in academia, because there's so many hierarchies, from how difficult it is to find a job to where you are in your PhD, if you have a PhD, if you struggle to find a job, which kind of job you have at university, how many hours you do, etc., etc. In France and in Europe, the amount of administrative tasks that you're agreed to do as part of your department, and that is also a negotiation that can create more or less distance with the colleagues. And like I think it's always very, very tough to break. And when we try to create conferences or events like this, classic events, just allowing for all of the words to mingle together is not a given, and it's something that has to be put into thoughts. And I think that how you communicated about the events, that was really the core mechanic, and it worked really well. And yeah, I'm definitely keeping that in mind for when I am in organizing committee, to ensure that people are able to communicate. But I think that it's definitely a tough job in today's academia.
I'd like to follow up on what you both just said there, right? That you'd like to organize, sort of, if you have the chance, as a student representative of a conference in a classical sense, and Agata as your sort of current efforts anyway to start that up in Europe. I do wonder, though, some people might say that mentorship is like part of the job, right? When you're onboarded to a new lab, in a new culture, in a new role. but it's not always clear what one should mentor about or how one should be a mentor, right? And that depends on the context. I just do wonder though, since you both sort of kickstarted off so well, you found this sort of wavelength, you used Discord, you didn't really rely much on the structure we gave you in a good way. What are sorts of tips that you have, practical tips for people who are put into sort of a mutual mentor role and they don't know how to start? You know, or like what are some strategies and tips that worked for you both? Like how did you break the ice? How did you share things about each other? What are some general tips that you might offer people who want to do this sort of thing?
I think that here the fact that we really hit it off very easily helped, right? Because the first 2, 3 meetings were us chatting, right? And we're figuring out what we want to do, and we were, talking about games and making games and our experiences and figuring out what I can help with. So like also talking about my experience in academia and Charlotte talking to me about theirs and comparing Canada with Europe and stuff like that, which is also was very interesting to me because I'm trying to get physically to the conference and I still cannot. So but I think that now even when you were talking, I kept thinking that I think maybe it's a very like an obvious answer, but just being open, right? Because you never know what you will learn. So like I came here to learn how to make a game, but I've also pulled a lot of knowledge about, like Canada and like a lot of interesting things about that context and just, in general about French academia, stuff like that. So I think that's probably also that can be limiting in that sense that if you're entering a mentoring relationship, even when it's well defined in like a hierarchical way, like when you're very much setting yourself up, okay, I'm here to just mentor this one thing, or I'm just learn to one thing, you're very closing yourself from very interesting things that you can learn. So open mind, but this is such a a very vague answer to that, I guess.
But absolutely, I think that learning from each other is not necessarily as easy or as intuitive with everyone. And I've learned a lot about this in game jams that I've done, because really working as a team with people that you don't know and making projects on the go is at the same time very exciting, but also it asks for a lot of very quick adaptation and to be able to change ideas very fast and to let yourself be influenced by others in a positive way, and just build on ideas of other people quickly and on the go. And yeah, just same as Agata, just being open, but also what really helped for me, and this will be the most neurotypical things that I will say, but just also being very clear about what we were looking for from the get-go. Like, this is what I want and this is what I can give. And when we had this in mind from the start, it was much easier.
I think that when I say that, I was also surprised, or very delighted and surprised to be selected for the first round project, is because I felt that I remember when I was filling out the form and I kind of saw very clearly what I could learn, because it comes back a little bit to everything that we talked about, because I want to learn how to make a game is such a quantifiable thing, right? Like I don't know how to make a game, I made the game. Like it's very, very easy to explain what I want to learn. But when I was describing what I can bring to the table, and it's not like I know that I know my way around academia, but it's a very difficult thing to conceptualize in the sense of, hey, I can teach X skill, right? Like I cannot teach you this product that then we will have made something. So when we started, that was much clearer for what I will my side will be of learning than what I can bring. And we it took a little like very short while, but like it took a moment to figure out like what that would be specifically. And then Charlotte said that there's a book and that would be the most helpful thing as well. So that was a very exciting and very, very fun moment when it crystallized that this is the skill right here specifically. So that also helps.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And you sort of started to answer this question, I think both of you, because you've mentioned like game jams and like the forms of collaboration that are available. Do you think in game studies we have like particular barriers to collaboration, or conversely like different kinds of opportunities to work with each other by virtue of like the discipline that we're in?
I think there are options for collaboration, like again, European context, but well, clearly now, there are also, I'm here, so, not only European, right? But I didn't, like, I think it's we chatted at the very beginning how different, like Canada is to Europe, right? Like sheer size, that is basically the continent size of a, of a country. So it's also different for European game studies versus like Polish game studies. And it's different. Like I think the difficulties would be between borders a little more, but that also really we have like several conferences and people are surrounding these, and this is the circle and this is the other circle, and they don't necessarily mingle. But also like there is so game studies I think are fine by themselves, but I think that where the lack of the transfer is between game industry versus game studying and game making, right? This is still the one that it's kind of like you do one or the other, or there are some people who do, but like there's no like maybe conversation about how easily that can be crossed and bridged. Although, of course I know many people who teach making games, right? But like they don't necessarily consider themselves like developers or game makers. So I think this is also very cool that it's not necessarily been paired about, I'm teaching you how to write a proposal and you're teaching me how to, I don't know, polish my writing of abstracts or something like that, right? So this was like a much broader set of skills. So that was very cool.
And I think very recently, in terms of collaboration in research, I've been really, really happy. I see that Jean Ketterling is in the audience. So hi, Jean. So Jean has brought together several people to offer a conversation roundtable for was it for CGSA? I don't know. I'm sorry. For a big Canadian conference last year, and Kenzie with you, we have also had a similar kind of roundtable, and I think that these moments were very important for researchers like working on at least both roundtables were on the topic of video games and sexuality and pornography. And these moments really helped discovering more about not only what we've published on, because some of us are early researchers, so it takes some time to get the work out there, but just to get an idea of what the other people working in our fields are thinking about, what are their focus on, maybe what's possible to work together in the future about. But I think that really this form of conferences are really I don't know if they're the most interesting to attend, because I've really just been on the panel side of this, but every time I felt like I was gaining a lot from learning from my peers working on the same topics of this, and I really viewed this as a moment of research collaboration, such as we rarely have the opportunity to do so, even though we may work on very similar topics. And so, yeah, my sentence may have ended with a rise, but yes, this was just another example of collaboration in game studies that I've seen recently and that I've really enjoyed.
Fantastic. Just sort of, I can't wait to see what comes after. Just on behalf of Kenzie and I, we are so thankful and happy that both of you paired together so well. And it warms our heart a lot. This is what we should be doing in academia, right? If we're going to play the game, don't play alone, and learn how to play it well. If folks are curious and want to learn more about Agata's game about duck butts, for example, and Charlotte's book proposal, you can always reach out to them. We are also going to be providing their sort of emails and contact and a wrap up later on our socials as well. But also feel free to contact them yourselves. I just also wanted to share very quickly, Jojo, hold on, this little screen here. Are you ready? So this is our first talk, the two-player talk. We have 3 more, and it's happening every Tuesday. So other than Taco Tuesday, it's also two-player talk Tuesday. Copyright. So feel free to sign up right now, share with your friends, etc., and colleagues. You can also scan the QR code on the right-hand side. So here it is, and very excited for that. Kenzie and I want to also, again, thank you, everybody here, especially for the CGSA crew and community for supporting us. We hope that this is not going to be sort of a one-time thing. As Agata said, this is something that many scholars are thinking about. Charlotte and myself and Kenzie, we're late-stage PhD students and candidates. We'd love for this thing to sort of grow organically. If anybody in the audience wants to help us participate or grow a multiplayer mentorship thing in your university or elsewhere, please get in touch with Kenzie and myself at cgsa.mmp@gmail.com. cgsa.mmp, because this needs to grow. Other than that, the email's down there. Take care, everybody. If Agata and Charlotte can still be in the room, Zoom room, and see you next Tuesday. Multiplayership mentorship program.